Welcome everybody to Prepper Talk Radio, ready for the ready-minded. We are coming back from a long break, a little bit of holiday love and cheer that we had with our families. And so we hope that you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And here we are, the first episode, the first live of 2026. If you're watching or if you're listening or watching later, welcome. Please give us some comments, questions, share the podcast with everybody that you know so that we can get a few more folks prepared for 2026. There's a lot of crazy. The first week of 2026 has been quite the experience, hasn't it, guys? So anyways, for those of you who are live with us right now on YouTube and Facebook, please hit the like button so the algorithm knows what's going on, and share it out with everybody that you know and can think of. We have we have a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack, and what's going on in the world right now. But we're going to share a few things about how you can survive in 2026. And part of surviving in 2026 is that you get healthy, stay healthy, and that you do it, in my opinion, and you know I'm the financial guy, you do it in an affordable way. So we've got preppertalkradio.com/good life. We've got some fantastic products there. They got the Scott's showing we got Shilajit and CMOS. We got Super Reds. They've got greens. And we've got creatine, they've got vitamins, minerals, they've got facial stuff, they've got methylene blue, yeah, they've got
Flaxseed oil.
Yeah, what's that? I was gonna say oils. Yeah,
flaxseed oil,
essential oils. They got black seed oil, the cure for everything but death, they say. But then they also have essential oils, a lot of essential oils. And I'm telling you guys, they have prices that will blow your socks off, like literally blow your if you buy essential oils, I was literally looking at a price comparison for a very big company here in Utah. Well, they're all over the world, I'm sure. And you would know what the name if I shared it with you. Their frankincense is about 6 times the cost of the frankincense over at this product, this company that we're working with. So if you literally want to get healthy, stay healthy, and do it in an affordable way, preppertalkradio.com/good life, and check it out. So without further ado, let's jump in, guys. How have you been over the break? I mean, we've chatted a lot, but for the sake of the audience, how have you guys been?
Good. It's been nice.
Horrible. I'm just kidding. Mostly good, but yeah, there's some crap going on globally that's weird. There's some really big crap going on here in Utah that I'm our buddy Phil Tech dropped in our chat today, and I was just like, what the actual what? So we'll get into that a little bit later, but the holidays were good, family's good, baby's on the way, so like we're blessed, man. We're blessed.
That's awesome.
Or should I say men, not just man. Blessed audience. Hey everybody, not just Paris, to everyone. Right. I'm blessed. I'm just very blessed.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a start this year, and I look back at our previous episode. We're talking about what kind of predictions and or forecasts for 2026. I want to redo that episode, and that's already I'm like no, it's going to be much worse.
There were some things on my that were not on my bingo card.
Yes, quite a few already in the first.
We're only a week.
Okay, so the hard thing is, like, since our last episode, we've had over 2 weeks. And so 3 weeks. And in that 3 weeks, we find out Minnesota's hijacking billions of dollars into the pirate organizations of Somali refugees. And that's mostly getting sent back to Somali. And then we find out Michigan's doing it. And we find out California's doing it. And mostly Iranians. And like all this news is breaking outside of the traditional news media, right? Those guys aren't reporting anything because they're in cahoots, is my opinion. But it's been nuts. And then we find out that in the dark of night, Maduro gets kidnapped, abducted, if you will. After he challenged us to do it, we're like, bet, right? And we go in, nab him and his wife, oust him, and all the liberals are panicking in the streets. No, put him back. He's a good guy. Really? A guy that's murdering his opposition is a good guy? a guy that's putting more people in poverty and forced I don't even know how many thousands of people out of his country. That's a good guy. Doesn't sound very good to me. But we also found out that Tim Walz is apparently sub normal IQ and in cahoots with all this stuff too. Like it's what?
Yeah,
Well, have you also heard about Somaliland? You heard about that?
Wait, what?
Somaliland. It's breaking off from Somalia, and Israel's going to build a base there.
Oh, I did hear about that. Yeah.
So all these dollars going from Minnesota to Somalia as some type of bribe or whatever you want to call it.
Well, sticking on IQ stuff. Right. Thank you, Whited Outdoors. The No Kings mentality switched real quick with that group, but also Somali. Like this is factual. You guys can go review the data. This is for educational purposes. Like I'm the captain now. Like they're pirates. They're ocean pirates and they're land pirates, and now they're Minnesota pirates, right? And what's interesting is IQ levels and number of inbreeding is so bad that it's like astonishing that they figured out how to put all this together. Yet here we are. They're the number one receiver of welfare funds, federal grants, all these benefits, and yet they're not citizens. And Minnesota's like, no, we have to support them. And when I say Minnesota, I'm talking about your government leaders. Not the people are pissed. Government leaders are like, no, we got to take care of them. That means you're in cahoots.
Yeah. And then
but now Somaliland, is there going to be their own version of Mickey Mouse?
I wouldn't doubt it. So what do we do about it? So that's, more things obviously happened in the last week, and even more that, we're not talking about right now. I don't know if I want to get into it, but, Trump's also talking more about Greenland, about Cuba, about Colombia, I'm like, okay, I see where this is going, right? I see Book of Isaiah happening right now, right? And so what do we do about it? Now, how do we isolate ourselves? Because that's more what I'm interested in doing, right? I think that's really only thing I can do is insulate myself, separate myself. And so that's kind of where my head is on this whole situation of 2026, which is going to be, I think, far, I don't want to use the word worse, but I mean that's an adequate description, but far different than I was anticipating at the end of last year, just 7 days ago.
So there's going to be some better and some worse, but it's going to be far worse than you're anticipating.
I know. I don't think there's anything that's going to be better. I don't think anything's going to be better other than maybe the price of precious metals. I think that's going to be, I kind of gave you my forecast a little bit last time. I'm going to step that up. I haven't decided what that is, but I'm just going to step that up. It's going to happen a lot faster.
There's a video from ITM Trading, and we used to have them as an affiliate back when who was our friend over there? There was a gal that was that worked there. She broke off and went her own way. But anyways, they just had a video they posted that in 2026 they predict gold will go to 6,000 and silver will be well over 100. So you're right. We're right in line with what they're talking about.
Well, I'm listening to other professionals, along the same lines, who who believe, and this is kind of what I talked about last time, that silver would be 200-ish towards the second quarter, if not, in my opinion, sooner, and $500-$600 before the end of the year. I think it's going to be even higher. But these people who live in these worlds, in these markets, of course, the ones who are more tied to banks, who tied to the stock market, have much lower projections, but they still see. Obviously, there were a lot of predictions last year. By the end of 25, gold, silver will be at $50. Okay, we passed that a long ways. And then they're calling for 75 by the end of 26. So, like, seriously, guys, we're already past that. So I just think it's going to be exponential from here on out.
Well,
It's-
the stock market's got to correct at some point. Housing market's got to correct at some point. I mean, we're just seeing all this stuff that's just going the wrong direction. But you're right. Let's, we're a channel of solutions. We have to identify the problems though in order to come up with solutions. So that's why we have a few minutes of what are some of the problems going on in the world. And but let's, that's what are we going to do about it? Um, I think isolation. Well, here's what I think. I think we should be more stoic. We should be more. We should be wiser with our consumption, wiser with our energy, with what we do with our lives. Like I feel like we need to take some time to really take a look at and say, okay, the world is not what it used to be. We can't just take for granted that we're going to wake up every day and everything's going to be great and there's not going to be some weird something happening. So like on X right now, there's a huge one person said, how do we go from the second civil war to World War III in like 2 hours? You know what I mean? Like, especially with what's happening in ice and Minnesota again, and with ice in Minnesota, that
Oh,
whole
yeah.
shooting that happened today. And so there's just potential for a lot of chaos. And I feel like we need to stop thinking that everything's going to be great, everything's going to be okay, everything's going to be normal, and realize that hey, we need to reprioritize maybe some of our focus and say, okay, the world's headed in a direction, and I see it going in that direction. It's not necessarily. I don't think that it's going to be. I don't think we need to be this Chicken Littles running around with the skies falling everywhere. But I still also think that we need to keep our eye on it and say, you know what? Maybe I do need to get a little better training. Maybe I do need a little, work out, get a little better, lose some weight so I can, get better physical fitness. Maybe I do need to make a little more money and spend it more wisely. Don't buy more boats and bigger rims. Actually get a car or truck that's going to be valuable for off-roading or getting out of Dodge, as they say. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here with a few of these things, but how do you survive 2026? In my opinion, is I think we need to get focused and we need to get real on what is your life purpose right now, and not just what everybody tells you you're supposed to do. Work 9 to 5, work 30 years, 40 years, get your 401k and retire comfortably. No, I don't think that. Personally,
Well, it also
maybe if you're going to retire in the next 1 or 2 years, perhaps, but if you're going to retire any longer than that, there's too many variables on the horizon.
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to assess your situation and you need to make your plans based on that situation, right? And this piggybacks right on what you were saying. So I talked about NCI University, Chase Hughes, former intelligence analyst. Like, dude is
he's
spot
legit
on. So many times I watch the stuff, I'm like, yes. So here's one that I digested the other day that completely goes in alignment with what you just said, Paris. And it's about rabbit holes, right? And about the obsession of what's going on. What's happening? What I got to know everything, right? And I was just like, man, because I used to be that guy. And it's like, my kid's yelling at me from the other room. So he's like, you need to work on trying not to be like obsessed. And the reason a lot of us chase those rabbit holes, chase the media, right? Try to figure out what is the psyop? How do I counteract the psyop, right? We get so into it that we obsess over it. And wisdom
I'd like to use
is
another
not
word too. I'd like to add another word to that: frenzied.
frenzied. Yeah. So doing that does not help you. It keeps you busy and distracted and off target. Wisdom is knowing how not to get sucked in. To me, I wrote down this because I'm like, this is really what it is. It's about awareness, not obsession, right? Be aware of it, but don't be the moth to the flame, just chasing it, right? And that's why we, as preppers or preparers for Shane, right? We don't panic, we prepare. We say, okay, here's all the noise. I can't get off mission and drown in the noise.
Yeah.
Because the noise is designed to just completely chew you up and spit you out. And so, like, just like any other source of information, right? You've got to digest it for what it's worth. Listen, accept what's true, what resonates, and move on. But do not like get obsessed about it. And that's the thing for me. Like, we don't panic, we prepare.
Right, but I think you also have to consider. Yes, panic is the right word. We don't want to panic, but we need to move with urgency. In my opinion, you need. I am rededicating myself again. I'm being more urgent. I am taking some pretty big steps right now, which I'll share with you guys maybe a little later. I won't do it here online, but and going back to what Paris was saying also is that on my list is just like you're saying, Paris. I'm learning, trying to learn to do with less, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to help my family do that as well, which is
Mhm.
the hard part, right? Because we are so wasteful, and there's always the idea, the thought of we have plenty, right? There, an abundance mindset, right? That's pretty popular out there. We have an abundance mindset. There's plenty of money. There's plenty of everything for everybody, right? Okay, I see the positivity in that, but I think this is the wrong time for that now. I think it's time to learn how to wash your clothes with as little water as possible, how to use as little toilet paper as possible. And I'm not saying that I'm trying to do this because I need to save money, and that's on my list as well. Pay off debt, save money, and save dollars, save gold and silver as well, which is what money is. But we will come a time when we'll be out of resources, and to be able to stretch that and then transition from being in that abundance mindset to where it's normal to, and this is the way it was, of course, looking to the past again to prepare for the future. That's on my list as well, right? We weren't the U.S., the world wasn't always so wealthy, and we are so spoiled here in the United States. I think the average income worldwide is like $5 a day, something like that. People have to live off $5 a day, and we are so spoiled. And changing that mindset is really what this is all about.
Well, the challenge though is you have to measure that economically, right? When they say the average income worldwide is $5,
right?
You have to actually understand that in the economy, like majority of America is living below the poverty line now, because the poverty line, due to appreciation, it's gone up so high. Like,
yeah,
but we're all still connected to all these electricity, gas, like all these things that require our connection, right? We have to pay into it. It's part of the machine that you can't just completely disconnect unless you move and build completely off grid, which that sounds good, right? Eliminate all bills, because my big bills are my home, right? Utilities, taxation, which sucks. And then we have one medical bill. The rest of that, it's just like we don't require much to survive. We don't require much to thrive, even. But I think, the biggest thing people need to do right now is buckle down. You've got to
another
down.
to add to that, and just in a different perspective. I feel like there are absolute trained professionals that are trying to separate your money from your money with marketing ploys, with marketing techniques, with all kinds of, for $19.95 you can have happiness. Just pay here. Oh, you get yourself into $50,000, $100,000 of debt. Oh, don't worry, it's a 50-year loan and so the payment is it's only a monthly payment. We've monthly paymented ourselves into the grave. Like, I'm just telling you. So one of the things that I'm really thinking about and considering is, what does the word enough mean to me? Like, what does enough mean? And so how am I going to prepare in 2026? I'm going to figure out what enough is and realize I don't need more of this or that or the other. What I want to get to the point is, what do I really need? And then I'm going to focus my efforts there. What brings me value, and what helps me move my happiness, my peace, my serenity, my tranquility, my serenity. What moves the needle for that for me? And some of those things that are like stoicism, and discipleship. And I've actually had a good buddy of mine came over yesterday, and we prayed together and we talked about some stuff, and we just have this real desire to, like, let's just purify our lives. Let's sanctify our lives. Let's come closer to Christ. Let's really dig in and really do the work to actually be better men, greater men, examples. The other thing too is that there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of just there's a lot of chaos, a lot of pleasure seeking versus value seeking. And I want to be a man of value. I want to be a man of integrity. I want to be a man of character. I want to be a man of strength and power. I want to be an example. I want to be a light, because the darkness is coming, and I want to be the light, because the darkness cannot penetrate the light if the light's strong enough. And so that's what I'm thinking about. What is enough? Do I have enough clothes? I have enough, TVs. I have enough, but what don't I have enough of? Maybe I don't have enough time with my family. Maybe I don't have enough time in the scriptures. Maybe I don't have enough time going on a walk with my wife. Maybe those are the things that I'm going to be working on and spending my time. And I think one of the things, in fact, Alex Hormozy and his wife, Layla Hormozy, they're very well-known business, motivational and business professionals. And they just put a post out, say, hey, if you're stressed out, go for a walk. If you're overwhelmed with work, go for a walk. If you're feeling anxiety or panic, go for a walk. And I'm just like, you know what? Some of those return to simple things is where we really need to be going. And that's some of the things that I feel like I need to do to survive in 2026, is just go back to some of those roots of just simple things that really actually bring peace, not the fake peace that that's been promoted by the marketing arms of major corporations.
Without going too scriptural, but like God gives a different peace than the world gives.
Oh yeah.
Right. The world's peace is a fullness of stuff without conflict, right? A fullness of stuff without conflict, where God's peace is a internal balance, a stillness, a softness, a clarity, right? And that's where we're supposed to operate. Like, that's why I love, like, Stoicism is great, because it teaches you to operate in that stillness, right? To be able to take it all in and not react, but to internalize, process it, put together a plan of action, and make strides, right? As opposed to panic driven, I've got to do this. Oh, and like, for me, more peace sounds really good, especially in a world where we've seen just in the last few weeks, we're going to have more and more dark works exposed, right? We're going to have more and more of the conspiracies popping off that are like, oh yeah, that we knew that, but we didn't know that, right? We're going to have more things that we're going to find out about. We're like, oh great, they're doing that too. Like, what we've learned about the false nation of Israel, that alone has been mind-bogglingly overload of information in the last few years, even the last 6 months. It's been crazy. And so as we continue to move forward scripturally, we're promised that's what's going to continue to happen. So we can't just allow that to get us stuck and to get us depressed and anxious, but to stick to our plan. So what is our plan? Like Shane, you were talking about, I think both about this, like fitness, about mindset. About what am I doing prep wise to get better?
Well, my number one item on my list is to get out. Get out of the system, get out of social media, get out of their manipulation, their surveillance system. And that's, of course, a lot easier said than done, right? But that's my number one thing on my mind for this year, really, and moving forward, really, because we talk about EMPs, power outages, internet outages. I don't think a lot of that's going to happen because they need this monster, right? And I call it a monster, and Field Tech calls it monster AI. We're all feeding AI, whatever we do. I mean, just talking here, we're feeding AI, especially if we're watching, other YouTube channels. We were talking about that in the chat a little bit. A lot of these YouTube channels that were taken down have been put back up recently. And I think that is because they want more data for those of us who are watching those types of channels that have been banned off YouTube. And so how do we avoid the facial recognition, right? All the manipulation. You get on. I recently, and I mentioned this, deleted Instagram, and what Instagram does in all these shorts, like TikTok and so forth, never been on there, is that, and Chase Hughes will explain this to you. That was on my list as well. Is as you're scrolling, it is watching exactly what you do, timing your time between when you scroll from one video to the other, predicting, okay, we're going to show them this video next, and then okay, we're gonna put this ad there so you can purchase this, and it is absolutely programming and learning who you are, probably better than you know yourself, and manipulating you, and I don't want that to happen for myself or my kids, and I don't recognize that in myself, that it's actually happening to me, but I fear that I am being programmed in some way. So I'm trying to be very conscious about what I'm doing online and how what I watch may be affecting me. Like you're saying, some of these videos you watch are very fearful, or there's a lot of AI videos out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's one in particular. If you're watching silver, there's this guy, and he's all over the internet now. It's the Asian guy talking about silver, and it's completely AI generated, 100%. This guy is putting out probably a video every 30 minutes on at least 24 different channels. It is mind-boggling, the type of manipulation. And I'll forward you guys some of these links if you want, because it is it's crazy manipulation in this silver community right now. And so, and I haven't decided exactly yet what they're trying to accomplish with all this manipulation and who's doing it, because nobody knows. But it's completely AI. And it's on some topics, more topics than just silver, but it's generally in that world. So that's my number one, is getting out of the system. I would love to, get off grid altogether, whatever that really means to you or me. But be very conscious of it moving forward, because I think by the end of the year, all of these systems that we fear about going into place for, digital IDs and the digital dollar, digital currencies, that they're all going to be in place before the end of the year, if they're not already in place. That's one thing I'm kind of realizing, is it's already here. It's already set up. It's watching us.
Yep.
It may be 100, it may be 90%, it may be 95%, but it's pretty darn close, I think. So I think that's just on the tip of my mind to be very careful about.
It feels like it's a switch waiting to be flipped. All the systems are approved. All the systems are aligned. They're ready to go. They need a event to flip the switch. And I think that's going back to kind of what we opened with, is like, okay, what's going on with Greenland? What's going on with Venezuela? What's going on with Colombia, right? What's going on with Cuba? Like, what is America doing? What's Monroe Doctrine, right? All these different things are happening, right?
They mean the Donroe
Doctrine. Like they're pushing to a switch flip, right? And offloading most of America's debt in that process by capitalizing and exploiting something else or someone else or another country, right? By theft, mostly theft of the American people, just continual process. But it feels like it's about to go. And to Paris's comment earlier, like, yeah, the housing market doesn't make any sense. The stock market doesn't make any sense. How is it continually pushing up? Especially as you see more and more vacant homes and houses longer on market, but no one moving into the homes to rent them. But all the apartments are filling up, right? It's just really weird to watch. And that's not just Utah. That's like national level. Like, there are units all over the place that are owned by equity funds that they don't want to rent out because they have a bigger tax advantage to not rent it, which then drives us out of being able to buy homes because there's just not enough homes on the market.
Yeah, that's another thing on my list as well. Go ahead, Paris. Sorry.
Well, it just to close up the idea of why it's so important to find purpose. Viktor Frankl has this great quote. He says, "A lack of deep meaning or purpose often leads men to seek temporary gratification through superficial pleasures, materialism, or compulsive behaviors as coping mechanisms rather than addressing the underlying void." And that's that's kind of an explanation of Viktor Frankl's quote about, when a person can't find deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasures. And as I was pondering that today, it came to me that the whole of society right now is under this spell of greed and lust. And I mean, you have a whole generation of people that is on OnlyFans, and instead of calling them for what they really are, everybody's calling them creators and influencers. It's like we redefined some of the most just crazy things to make it sound so nice and so good, and it's like, no, we have so much consumerism. We have the United States of America. We just hit 38 trillion in debt. And most of that is owned by foreign countries, it's actually owned by, anyways, the point is too much of it is owned by foreign countries. We're consumers. We consume and consume and consume. Somebody said the old idea, spend more than you make. That's the American way. And I'm just like, what? Why have we as a whole gotten to the point where we've lost our sense of purpose? We've lost our sense of meaning. We've lost our sense of striving for something that is greater than ourselves, because we've just been inundated with this whole, anyways, it's a whole to me, it all boils down to this, do what thou wilt, which is because eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die.
Yep.
And so this whole pleasure seeking thing is just really, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having pleasure in life. That's part of being balanced, is having things that give you wholesome pleasures.
Sure.
And, but I think we've lost as a country, as a society, as a whole. Now, of course, there's individual pockets of people that have great purpose and great meaning and are doing great things, and they're not involved in that. But I think the world is there's a shift happening, and I want to be the part of the force that shifts it back to some of the things that, and I, it's not, according to scriptures, we're exactly where we're supposed to be, but we still need to fight. Regardless of what it looks like on paper or right before us, if we're winning or losing, the reality is God wins. Jesus is going to come back, and he's going to clean it all up with his servants that serve him. And anyways, the point is that we need to have a good sense of meaning and a good sense of purpose. And so that's kind of where I'm headed with my life right now, is just what's my meaning, what's my purpose, and just redefining it, really doubling down on it, so that I have a great, I get rid of the distractions and get focused on what I really need to be doing.
I like that.
Yeah, I think the next thing that's really been on my mind, first one is get out. Like I mentioned, get out of the system, get off grid, get out of the cities. I didn't mention that. That's top on my list. But the next one is work on securing your shelter, your home, your rental, wherever you live. If it is questionable, if you're not able to make ends meet, I mean, make some changes, or put in some backup plans so that you will always have a place for you and your family to go. Maybe that's an RV, maybe it's a big tent, who knows. But I think that's, you got to do that ahead of time, right? You can't when something happens and you lose your shelter, you lose your home, you lose your place where you keep your family safe. It's extremely difficult to make something happen in the moment. So make plans now for whatever that may be. I mean, if maybe you go back to mom and dad's, and I think a lot of people need to do that, right? A lot of kids living out on their own need to do that. Go back with mom and dad. I think even, some, myself, my parents are gone. I can't do that. But my, in-laws could potentially, come live with us at some point, or some of the other kids, hopefully not us, right? But some of the other kids who have more space. But I'm just saying, make those types of plans now. Maybe you go to grandma's, and hopefully grandma's is in grandpa's. They live in some rural city, out of the town, something like that. That is, I think, the number two, very close to number one, if not number one, right? Thing to plan for this year is have another place to go.
And don't rely on it being National lands, campgrounds, or BLM lands, because that's where everybody without a plan is going to go. Like,
well, and according to the movie Greenland, we should all be headed there, and probably in the next little while we won't need a passport because it'll be just like moving from one state to the next.
Okay, so yeah, let's.
And there's another Greenland movie coming out. So
I haven't watched the first one, and the second one's coming. It's Gerard Butler's in it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the deal? Like, what are we talking about here? Because I
recommend you go watch it because it's a pretty good movie. But basically, it's the end of the world as we know it, as they know it in the show, and the only place that is quote unquote safe is these huge bunker in Greenland. And so the whole movie is about how, I don't remember if it was an alien invasion of some kind or if it was
it was
asteroid,
an asteroid comet or whatever going to hit the Earth.
Yeah,
right?
So an asteroid or comet was coming, and it was going to hit the Earth and blah blah blah. So the only place, well, there might have been other places, but the movie was focused on this one bunker that was in Greenland that all of the top officials of the United States went to, and all of the top scientists and all the top
select
minds,
people,
all the elites. And it's kind of interesting how the movie plays out because, and I'm not going to ruin anything by saying this. There's no spoilers what I'm about to say, but this top scientist, Gerard Butler, is apparently a top scientist.
He's a contractor. He's a engineer or something like that.
Yeah, one of the top leading engineers for government contracts and stuff like that. So his son has diabetes, and they basically said, "We're sorry, but nobody with these types of diseases is allowed to move forward, regardless of whose kid they are." And so they have to find this alternate route to get on this ship to be able to get to Greenland, to be able to, so the whole adventure of the movie is them getting to Greenland, where they finally, you can watch the movie to see if they make it. So, but Greenland 2 apparently is called migration, where they migrate after it's happened. Now the world, they're coming out of this thing, and they're going to show us what to do after they come out of it.
So that's interesting. So it's a comet, AI Atlas, maybe.
Well, that's already past Earth, but it could be Apophis.
It could turn around
2029.
That's the thing. Like, okay, so I get Hollywood's always trying to like divulge a little bit of the plan in all these different movies, or to normalize and condition us to just go along with it. But it's really interesting because like there's a lot of, I mean, doomsday movies are popular, right? It's a big genre. But that's interesting. I'll definitely have to go watch this one because kind of reminiscent. It's not Armageddon. What was it? Deep Impact. Kind of a similar.
Yeah, it's kind of like Deep Impact. Yeah, kind of like that, and kind of like Armageddon, also with Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
except instead of going into
it's back in the Earth. Yeah,
going into a bunker versus going into space.
To blow up the asteroid.
But also, like, what was that other movie end of last year? With I'll look it up. I won't keep talking here. I'll look it up and share it on the screen. It's worth watching as well. Oh dang, what's it called?
Hopefully, I'll have seen it.
I'll have to look it up here.
So it's just interesting to me that all of a sudden Greenland 2 is coming out, and then Trump announces in the last couple of days that he wants to that based on national security, we need to acquire Greenland, and we will use and he's saying things like we'll use whatever means necessary, even if we have to take it by military force. And I'm like, what in the heck is happening with that? So again, that doesn't affect us locally. Like that doesn't, I mean, I still got to make my calls for my business. I still got to do everything right. But it's definitely something to be watching, because if that happens, then the Dutch are going to be ticked off because they own Greenland. And if they're ticked off, then NATO is going to be in turmoil. If NATO's in turmoil, we may lose that whole alliance. And that's kind of what's keeping a little bit of that Russia-Ukraine thing in line, is the whole alliance over there. Anyways, it's just, it's all teetering right now on this teeter-totter of what in the heck is happening.
What's interesting too is like the entire NATO's like, if you do this, NATO ceases to be NATO. But then also that destroys part of the whole UN agreements and all the different things going on there, right? It could potentially decimate the UN's plan for the 10 territories or 10 kingdoms that they have, right? You guys can go to the UN website and search it up. But we talked about this 2 years ago, Shane. I think
I'm sorry.
The 10 kingdoms that the UN has already outlined.
The UN has 10 kingdoms.
Right, yeah.
So the 10 zones or 10 kingdoms that they've outlined, which is very reminiscent of Daniel's prophecies. And it's interesting because, right now there's the BRICS nations. There's everybody else is stuck on the US petrodollar, right? But they're trying to pull off. Everyone's trying to find a new stable thing. Japan and China leads the world in debt, followed by Japan, followed by America. Like we're not in a good situation. And I'm talking governmental debt. So what are we doing? We're just diving headlong as a government, as a country, headlong into more debt, putting ourselves at greater risk by going after things like Greenland, going after things like Venezuela. All of that is to pull into what? A new one world order. I've heard people saying that what Trump's doing are the old Bush tactics. And I'm like, yeah, he is. But it all goes back to Monroe Doctrine that we have to take over everything to protect ourselves. I don't believe that that's right either. Right? The whole point is we're supposed to build a community of strength, not be the only country that provides all the strength for everybody. And what do we get out of it? More debt.
Yeah, the Monroe Doctrine, or now it's being renamed the Donroe Doctrine, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean that's what he's calling it. That's what the Donald is calling it. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, and I think it is the last ditch effort the U.S. has to, and I'm sounding very doomish here, to survive. I really think when all else fails, they take you to war, just like Gerald Celente says. And I think that's exactly what's happening right now. Is there's no other choice to prop up the economy than to make some extreme choices. And I put a scripture in the chat here from Matthew chapter 27 verse 37. As in the days of Noah, so shall it also be with the coming of man. Right? Things were normal. People were marrying and being given in marriage, as it says, and life was going on as normal if you weren't in Noah's crowd, right? In his group. And that's the way it's going to be. And life pretty much is continuing on as normal. But it's not normal to those of us who are watching and see what's going on. But and then, like you said, I think earlier, Scott, then all of a sudden something will happen and it will change.
Yeah.
And we'll be out of time. And so that's what my list is kind of all about today is, I talked about getting out of the system, getting your shelter figured out. Of course, food storage. We always hammer that: food storage, water storage, getting out of debt. There's been some great comments here. And I think also I'm going to add, get what you need now, because obviously we get everything from China. Yes, this has been a thing I've been saying to myself for a couple of years now, ever since trade wars and the tariffs and everything, and things have kind of gone back and forth. But there will be a point when you can no longer get those things you might need. So if you have the ability, but like Paris says, we got to do it responsibly. Can't do it in fear and saying, I got to get everything now because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. That, in my mind, that is absolutely true. And I do say that in my mind, in my opinion, that's the way I'm proceeding. But I still have to be smart about it. I don't have that deep of pockets, right, to where I'm just going to do everything right now. I would love to. That's my goal. But it's just not feasible for me or probably most of you. But that is high on my list as well. If you have things that are really critically important, but like you said, Paris, what do I really need, right? What's really essential? Do I have too much of this and that? And of course, Mike asks, well, how much silver can you really get? How much can you really carry? that's a really personal question. I feel I have enough, and I hope that's the case. It probably isn't, but what does that, like you say, Paris, what does that mean? What does enough mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
And you
and
need
there's
to
all the
determine
things.
that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really good thought exercise. And for me, it's taken a long time to figure out what that means.
Yeah.
And recently I've whittled down my gun collection pretty significantly, gone down to really just the basics for that same reason. Yeah. Yes. Could I use a lot of extra guns for other people and give them away? Yes. At some point that might become important, but I felt the need to minimize and to realize, okay, what's essential? What do I really need? And so that's kind of, again, where my brain is right now, is just like you're saying, Paris. What, how much is too much?
There's actually a gun kennel up here, kind of like a canine kennel. If you want to store some of yours up in this area, there's a really good place that will watch over them. They won't charge you.
I've already gotten rid of them. Sorry, brother.
Okay. I was going to give you the address afterwards if you need to. They'll even cycle some rounds from. So if anybody needs somewhere taken care of, I know a place. We'll hook you up.
That's awesome.
I think right now the biggest thing people need to do is double time their food storage, double time their fitness, and double time understanding how to use their food storage. There was actually a post in our emergency prep and self-reliance group on Facebook about sourdough bread.
Mm-hmm.
Not to call anybody out, but who's made sourdough bread in the last year?
Not me.
I used to make sourdough bread years ago, and I'm like, I need to do it. I need to do it. And it's time to start. Everyone that's watching this, everyone that's listening to this, start making food from scratch. Those ingredients last longer, they store better, and you don't have to rotate them as fast. So get some really good wheat. Get some really good ingredients. Stock up on your sugars. Stock up on your salts. Get honey, real raw honey, not the fake stuff at the store. You can test it. There's a little burn thing. You can put it in a spoon and burn the bottom of it. And if it boils and bubbles but doesn't burn, right, you can test it. But a lot of it's just fake. Same thing with like olive oils at the store. Most of it's not even olive oil. They call it pure olive oil. It's not. We have been. I remember as a kid thinking, as I read about the last days, I'm like, how are the waters going to be poisoned? How is the land going to be poisoned and the food going to be poisoned? Like, how's that even possible? Well, now I look outside and it's chemtrails everywhere.
Yep.
Right? That's how it's been happening for 30 plus years. And with weather modification and manipulation and aluminum in our skies, like, it is absolutely more vital for you to start growing your food, processing your food, storing what you eat, eating what you store, and knowing how to cook and clean and take care of everything without having to go to the store to buy all the ingredients or to buy everything already made, right? Whited Outdoor says that's heroin, Scott. Thank you, Whited. But yeah, we have to get back to the basics. Get back to simple. Like, we made butter last year. Who can say they made their own butter? It's one of the easiest things you could do. Like, we did it in mason jars and just shook them. Took a while, but it worked.
That's right? Cool.
We also did it in our food mixer, food processor. It's super simple, and guess what? It's way tastier. It's way better for you. But it's like, you got to go do it. You got to learn and know how to do these things now and get used to doing them now, because it's going to be too late soon.
Mm-hmm. And right? on the other end of that, it's a good idea to go start getting some training with homesteading, get some training with your Second Amendment trainings. I know, Shane, you became a trainer last year and are working with one of our good friends, Todd Nielsen, who we've had on the show several times. And
absolutely worth it.
Get those trainings underway. We're going to see. You're going to need to know how to be a warrior. You're going to need to know how to be a warrior in a garden. and not a gardener in a war, please. Be a warrior in a garden. Know how to fight, know how to be dangerous, know how to protect yourself, know how to defend, because you shouldn't be on the attack. You should be on the offense. You should be on the defense. And sometimes that requires a little bit of offense, but it's basically you're defending your family. And then also learn how to do what Scott just said, grow your food, prepare your food, store your food. I mean, I had a conversation with that gentleman, my buddy who came over, was sharing with you that we were praying together. He said, Paris, I was just praying and saying, hey, if all this stuff that's happening that I'm seeing in the news, I don't have enough money or time to get all the food storage I think I need. And I said, you may be right, but don't let that overwhelm you. When you go shopping next, just buy one extra box of cereal, buy one extra box of oatmeal, buy one extra lunch item, buy one extra dinner item and store it. And then every time you go to the store, just buy one extra of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And before you know it, you'll have a week stored. And before you know it, you'll have 2 weeks in a month. Just start, for goodness sakes. Don't get overwhelmed with the ads. Oh, for $700, you can get a 3-month supply and we'll send you a 5-month supply. If you have the money, do it. But if you don't have the money, start small. Get just every time you go shopping, but get a little bit extra. And there will come a day. There's an old story about a kid and his grandpa, putting cans up on shelves, and the little kid says, "Grandpa, why are we doing this?" He says, "There will come a day when this can of beans you'll be able to buy a ton of things with just this small can of beans." And I don't doubt that. It may have been just rhetorical kind of a lesson, one of those lessons that people share, but I still think there's some truth to it. With bartering in the future, we're going to need to know how to do that. Actually, I just reached out to a company that is starting a bartering app where you can connect with people to barter goods and services. And I said, hey, I just reached out to them to get more information. So there's stuff that's people, I think the feeling that we're having is not just us. It's getting it. There's a collective spirit of, we need to get ready for some big stuff because something's happening and we need to be ready for it. And I think that the mindset of the world, I know I said earlier that we're having a mindset of no meaning and no purpose. And so we're getting into pleasures and consumerisms, but I also feel like there's a small group of people that are rising up and trying to be more prepared and more ready.
So going back for a second, just the very top of the hour, we talked about something going on in Utah. I wanted to bring it back up before we run out of time, because this goes in line with self-defense. If you're in Utah, this is very important to you. Michael L. Kohler, in the 2026 general session, put forth bill, and this is disgusting, HB 133. Have you guys heard about it yet?
No. I have not.
It is going to require people who have to use force in self-defense to self-report to the police that they did that before anything else happens. Because, and here's the thing, if you don't, they will be able to use this bill to prosecute you if you don't call the police. Self-report. Hey, I was attacked. I had to use force, right? If you don't, then the other person can be like, hey, you used excessive force, and because you didn't report it, guess who's going to get convicted before? Yeah. Like it's a whole pretrial issue. It's disgusting. This guy says he's a Republican and he's writing this bill. He's absolute literal piece of garbage up in Summit County. Like, we get a hold of your senators, your representatives, get a hold of everybody and just be like, shut this thing down.
Yeah, well,
we're all Second Amendment here, but they don't care.
Yeah. Well, there obviously are way too many laws out there, but I think in general that is an essential practice. If you have to defend yourself, you should be the first one on the phone to the police. I think you shouldn't have to report defending yourself, right? But in this day and age, because the other people say, oh, he pulled his gun on me or whatever, the case might be, and they report it first, or you don't even call in, then yeah, that looks pretty bad on you. And that it's kind of been that way for a long, long time. And there are plenty great channels out there that teach about these types of things. I can't remember any off the top of my head. I'll put it in the chat here, but I think that's a good practice anyway. But to legislate it, yeah, is absolutely wrong.
Because here's my take on it. I think it's absolute garbage because I self-reported and went to jail. And it took 3 years to get that cleared up. That's where I think this is bull. This is garbage. People like this shouldn't be in office. Laws like this shouldn't exist. We're supposedly a stand your ground, and I did that, and I got to go to jail. And I just used self-defense. That's the problem that we're living in. We live in a litigious society. We live in a satanic culture where everyone is trying to take whatever they can from whoever offends them. That's where we live. That's the reality of our current situation. And so good moral people like you and I, right? We've got to be even more careful, right? We've got to de-escalate things better than ever before.
Yeah, I can see how this will will catch fire and spread around the country. Oh, this is great legislation. Especially if California's already done it, because it kind of takes off from there.
Yeah, it basically turns it into forcible felony.
Okay,
if you don't report
puts a higher penalty on it.
Which then goes to the question, okay, what about all the people who are breaking the laws all the time, who are attacking other people? And the criminals, they're not going to self-report on themselves. The good guys are the ones that are going to self-report. And then that, whether it gets reported or not by someone else, there's an investigation that has to happen. Here's the problem. Summit County, if there's an investigation that has to happen and there was assault or self-defense actions taking place, someone by their policy will be arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Which means
Somebody's
if
gotta go to
someone's
jail.
arrested, someone will receive at minimum a misdemeanor. That's how screwed up our policy.
Yeah, that's messed up. That is messed up.
Or a felony, and it just depends. That's where this gets really, really scary really fast. It's a slippery slope that they're going to open up and just ruin people's lives with. And it's going to be a tool they use to gain control rather than, quote, keep the law.
Mm-hmm.
So stay frosty, friends.
Yeah.
Talk everybody down when they're in a
Yeah.
bad situation. De-escalate. Don't engage if you don't have to.
Yeah. I guess one other thing I wanted to mention before we're out of time here is we talk about community all the time, and we say, oh, get started on your community, on finding like-minded individuals that you can train with, that you can make plans with, preferably family, and in my instance. And that's something I've been working on for a long time, but I think this year is the year to finalize that, get it figured out, make that top priority, along with your shelter and food and water and all that, because you can't do it by yourself. I mean, you can't really survive, especially lone wolf, right? And for me, ideally is with family, with your church group, whatever, but finalize those plans and figure it out how you're going to work with your community, and make some extra effort into connecting with good people in your area.
Amen.
Amen to that. Any other last minute thoughts, Scott?
Nope.
Well, you've been listening to Prepper Talk Radio, radio for the ready-minded, the podcast for the prepared. We are grateful to have you all on, and we're grateful that you're sharing our podcast with all those that are around there. Appreciate that we have people that are willing to listen to three crazy dudes talk about a passion that we have and a calling that we feel called to. So before we leave, though, just go check out one of our good friends over at survivalfrog.com and use code PrepperTalk10 to get 10% off. They have pretty much everything that you'll ever need over there. I just placed an order in December, and I got my first set of lock picks. So now I need to learn how to pick a lock, and that's just one skill that I'm planning on learning in 2026. So that might be another thing for you, how to survive in 2026. Find a couple skills that you don't have, that you think you need to have, and go find a way to learn those skills. So again, thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week. Take care. Have a great week.
See you next week.
See you guys.